Greetings. Previously, I released 4 videos on the unboxing of the new reprint of the original White Book Dungeons & Dragons boxed set by Wizards of the Coast. In one of those sections, I read the foreword from the Men Magic Book 1, and a number of people found that very helpful, and a number have asked for some more excerpts, so I'm going to read from the same book, Book 1, Men Magic, from the introduction section, pages 4, 5, and 6. Introduction. These rules are as complete as possible within the limitations imposed by the space of 3 booklets. That is, they cover the major aspects of fantasy campaigns, but still remain flexible. As with any other set of miniatures rules, they are guidelines to follow in designing your own fantastic medieval campaign. They provide the framework around which you will build a game of simplicity or tremendous complexity. Your time and imagination are about the only limiting factors, and the fact that you have purchased these rules tends to indicate that there is no lack of imagination. The fascination of the game will tend to make participants find more and more time. We advise, however, that a campaign be begun slowly, following the steps outlined herein, so as to avoid becoming too bogged down with unfamiliar details at first. That way, your campaign will build naturally, at the pace best suited to the referee and players, smoothing the way for all concerned. New details can be added, and old laws altered so as to provide continually new and different situations. In addition, the players themselves will interact in such a way as to make the campaign variable and unique, and this is quite desirable. If you are a player purchasing the Dungeons & Dragons rules in order to improve your situation in an existing campaign, you will find that there is a great advantage in knowing what is herein. If your referee has made changes in the rules and/or tables, simply note them in pencil, for who knows when some flux of the cosmos will make things shift once again, and keep the rules nearby as you play. A quick check of some rule or table may bring hidden treasure or save your game life. Men Magic Book 1 details what characters can be played, potentials, limitations, and various magical spells. Monsters and Treasure Book 2 describes the beasts and creatures which will be encountered, as well as the kind and amount of treasure they are likely to guard, including magical items. Finally, the Underworld and Wilderness Adventures Book 3 tells how to set up and actually play the campaign. It is presented last in order to allow the reader to gain the perspective necessary, the understanding of the 2 preceding booklets. Read through the entire work in the order presented before you attempt to play. Scope. With the various equipage listed in the following section, Dungeons & Dragons will provide a basically complete, nearly endless campaign of all levels of fantastic medieval wargame play. Actually, the scope need not be restricted to the medieval. It can stretch from the prehistoric to the imagined future, but such expansion is recommended only at such time as the possibilities in the medieval aspect have been thoroughly explored. The use of paper, pencil, and map boards are standard. Miniature figures can be added if the players have them available and so desire, but miniatures are not required, only aesthetically pleasing. Similarly, unit counters can be employed, with or without figures, although by themselves the bits of cardboard lack the eye appeal of the varied and brightly painted miniature figures. Age level, 12 years and up. Number of players, at least 1 referee, and from 4 to 50, that's 50, players can be handled in any single campaign. But the referee-to-player ratio should be about 1 to 20, or thereabouts. Recommended equipment. Dungeons & Dragons, you have it! Dice. The following different kinds of dice. 1 pair 4-sided dice, 1 pair 8-sided dice, 4 to 20 pairs 6-sided dice, 1 pair 20-sided dice, 1 pair 12-sided dice. Chainmail Miniature Rules, latest edition. 1 3-ring notebook, referee and each player. Graph paper, 6 lines per inch is best. Sheet protectors, heaviest possible. 3-ring lined paper. Drafting equipment and colored pencils. Scratch paper and pencils. Imagination, 1 patient referee. Players. Preparation for the campaign. The referee bears the entire burden here, but if care and thought are used, the reward will more than repay him. First, the referee must draw out a minimum of half a dozen maps of the levels of his underworld, people them with monsters of various horrid aspect, distribute treasures accordingly, and note the location of the latter two on keys, each corresponding to the appropriate level. This operation will be more fully described in the third book of these rules. When this task is completed, the participants can then be allowed to make their first descent into the dungeons beneath the huge ruined pile, a vast castle built by generations of mad wizards and insane geniuses. Before they begin, players must decide what role they will play in the campaign, human or otherwise, fighter, cleric, or magic user. Thereafter, they will work upwards, if they survive, as they gain experience. First, however, it is necessary to describe fully the roles possible. I'll continue that in another session. A few notes, however, regarding some of those requirements. So, for example, it states that besides the 20-to-1 ratio of players to referee, it also keeps stating pair of dice. However, it says Chainmail Miniature Rules Latest Edition. So it actually does include an alternate combat system. And initially, it's just 2 combat tables in the format that we all know from the first edition AD&D, where we had all the different combat tables for the different professions. Initially, it's just for men attacking and then monsters attacking. In the other books, they start building on that with additional tables for other options. So you can play this game with just these without the chainmail rules.